Well, greetings to you all. I'm so sorry I can't be with you. I am climbing mountains in the Lake District, which I'm very happy to be doing because I'm getting on a little bit. But I send you just a short video clip of one or two things which I think you might find interesting. Now, you may have seen some of my clips before, but I want to talk to you just a little bit about the economy at the moment, because when it all boils down, we find that it's the economy that really affects our lives. That's what's going to affect our families, so on and so forth. There are many other things, of course, but I want to just concentrate on this. We have a new Chancellor who has no more idea than the previous Chancellors. She doesn't understand money, hasn't a clue about economics, any more than the previous Chancellor and previous Chancellors before them. The corporate media don't understand money and economics. The Treasury don't understand it, because they all believe that it's possible for somebody to spend more money than they earn constantly. Now, you know, everybody in the audience today knows, as an individual or a small businessman or woman, you cannot continue to spend more money than you raise in revenue in some way. Permanently. You might have a year doing that or whatever, but not permanently. The United Kingdom hasn't balanced its books since 1989. So since 1989, we have continued to spend more money than we raise in revenue. And it's impossible to raise enough revenue. So what we do is we borrow and we borrow and we borrow, and we print money, or counterfeit money, if you will, which they sometimes call quantitative easing. Now, this lady, who is our Chancellor of the Exchequer, hasn't a clue. They've made the mistake of recruiting a politician whose background was in the Bank of England in a rather junior capacity. What I have been recommending for many years is, as a Chancellor, is a Yorkshire housewife who knows how to balance her budget. We haven't had anybody of that sort for years and years, decades and decades and decades. So it's always been a shambles. Now, there's a few numbers I want to put to you which you may or you may not know. First of all, and it's not necessarily in any great order of importance, although it's all important, our national debt. Our national debt is circa £3 trillion. We owe, as a country, £3 trillion. Some would argue it's more, but I'm okay with 3 trillion. Now, trillions, of course, are numbers which are almost impossible for the human mind to absorb. It's when you get past 1 trillion, it's a number that is so much beyond our imagination. It's like infinity, or some of the distant stars in the universe, light years. 90 or 100 light years away. We can't conceive of it. It's just simply too much. And this is the shambles we're in, and we're not alone. Western Europe is in the same situation. North America is in the same situation, because we go on and on and on, spending more money than we raise. And of course, in this country, it goes down the sort of national throat of the National Health Service, billions, 128 billion, and we're still not getting what we pay for. We're paying an absolute fortune, and we've got a lousy service, not because it's not getting enough money, it's because it's incompetently run. And it's the same with most public sector money suckers, money grubbers. Nothing actually works in the public sector, does it really? Let's be brutally frank. Now, it's swallowing so much money, it's taking money out of the economy. There is a school of thought that believes, and it's quite erroneously believes, that the government spending money puts money into the economy. It doesn't, it takes it out. Governments don't know how to spend money, they're incompetent. Nobody can spend money more effectively than you in this audience, you and your family, and for your family. Not the man in Whitehall, not the man in the town hall. They haven't a clue. And of course, they have something which now accounts for nearly a third of our national debt, which is index-linked pensions. Nearly £1 trillion liability, which never goes on the books. It's never talked about when the Chancellor talks about the country on budget day. Now, if it was UK PLC, that would be illegal, not to put liabilities for public sector index-linked pensions into our accounts and present the accounts to the nation. That would be illegal if it was a PLC. And the directors would go to prison. And this goes on for years and years under all parties. So this is a problem that we have. Now, there's one or two other numbers I'd like to run past you. There are 9 million people in this country who don't work at all. They're not even required to look for a job. So there's 9 million of those. Now, not all of those will be on welfare benefits, but you'll find a very significant number are. They're sucking money out of the wealth-creating sector. Immigration. We have millions and millions now of immigrants pouring into this country, and it doesn't matter what colour they are or what race they are. That isn't the point today, because I'm talking about economics. The point of it is that 80% of them are on welfare of some description. So they come into the country not to bring something to the party, but to take something out of the indigenous population's tax already. Now, if you are a Czech IT expert, or you're a Polish plumber, or whatever it is, you come in and you add to the economy. You're welcome into the economy. You're contributing something. But the sort of people that we're getting coming in now largely are unskilled. They put nothing into the economy, but they take it out. So we have millions of those. We have 6 million people in the sector, in the public sector. 6 million. That's miles more than we had when we had an empire, the biggest empire the world's ever seen. We had a fraction of those people in the public sector. So that's another problem that we've got. And of course, there's another 6 million, probably significantly more than that, on index-linked pensions, which is inconceivable to buy now in the private sector. You can't buy them. So this is money hemorrhaging out all the time. Our national debt increases by £370 million per day. Per day. It's off the Richter scale. No chance of us ever paying it off. And of course that means the only thing that can be done is to print money to bail us out, and that degrades the currency. And the currency then is degraded, which means you need more paper money to pay for goods and services. That means inflation. So we're now getting inflation on the high street, which have been kept away. It's been largely going into banks and asset classes, so on and so forth. But at the moment, it's hitting the ordinary average family. Who suffers from inflation? The old pensioners, people on fixed income, so on and so forth. These people suffer from inflation, not the big fat cats who are protected. Fat cat civil servants are protected. Politicians are protected. Their salaries continue to go up. Their pensions continue to go up. But it's not true for the rest of us. The rest of us just have to suck it up. And this is quite wrong, immoral in my view. So all this money is pouring out. And I would argue again, too, we need a moratorium on money that's sent abroad. It is inconceivable from a moral standpoint that to stop old age pensioners' energy subsidy, which old age pensioners are struggling to find their energy bills, for the simple reason that the government pursues this net zero policy. So our energy costs are miles ahead of the rest of the world. It's very, very expensive, our electricity, our gas, needlessly because of net zero. So the government then create this problem, and they take away the subsidy to help the people who are the weakest in society who cannot afford this ideology, this lunatic ideology born of climate hoax, the great climate hoax. And so it goes on, and so it goes on. And then there's perpetuating the war in the Ukraine, which isn't our war at all. It's not our war. It's nothing to do with us. The Ukraine has nothing to do with us. And yet so far it's sucked in £6 or £7 billion worth of taxpayers' money, which goes straight to America to buy arms. what doesn't actually get to America is creamed off by the Zelensky government for his palaces on the beach and palaces in Switzerland and so on and so forth, and lovely houses for his parents and his cronies, and wonderfully expensive cars which you can see driving around in Ukrainian number plates in Monaco. While we struggle here with our social services, potholes in the road, high taxation and everything else. We have the highest taxation now overall in my lifetime, and I'm an old man, born in 1949. It's scandalous. And that was under the Conservative Party. What do we get for it? Well, the answer is we don't get anything for it. Now, if you go to Denmark, okay, they pay very high taxes in Denmark as well, but you get something for it. You get clean streets, no potholes, and a health service that works. Not my cup of tea, Denmark, frankly. I'd soon see other things happen and a different way of running an economy, but that's neither here nor there. Unless they get something for their tax. We don't get anything for our tax. And overseas aid, nearly £1 billion a month. We send money, did you know we send money to the Indian subcontinent, who have nuclear aircraft carriers, to China. And now the Chancellor is talking about £10 billion to Africa to stop the sun shining. I mean, you couldn't invent all this, could you? We knew the last lot were terrible, but this new lot are absolutely ghastly. And then there are quangos. Did you know there are 1,000 quangos? 1,000! Full of fat cats. Also on index-linked salaries and and index-linked pensions when they retire. They've got their hand in the till and generous expense accounts. And so it goes on and so it goes on. And there's nothing left for us. We can't go on like this. And sooner or later, the banks are going to collapse, paper money is going to collapse, and the whole edifice will come tumbling down. And everyone will suffer. We have to get a grip on the economy. We have to understand that debt does matter. Modern monetary theory, which is a form of Keynesianism on stilts, there are people who believe that debt doesn't matter. It matters to you, it matters to me, it matters to small businesses, but it doesn't matter to governments. They can go on and on printing money and degrading the currency. And for those of you who remember your history when you were at school, and especially if you were baby boomers like me, the Roman Empire totally and utterly collapsed because they couldn't defend their borders and they degraded their currency. Ringing any bells here? So we're all going to hell in a handcart at the moment because we're not controlling the money. We're not even talking about it. And corporate media financial journalists don't understand it. I think there are probably two, Liam Halligan and Alistair Heath, but they don't like talking about it, but they do at least understand it. Nobody else does. Your Financial Times editorials don't understand it. Your Economist magazine editorials don't understand where we're going, but we're going to get there. And I'm going to make one punt. I don't often forecast things because no good often comes of it, but I would suggest that this current government under this current Chancellor will collapse by Easter 2026. It won't go beyond then because they will bankrupt the country. The black hole is much bigger than they're even talking about. And yes, it was created by the last Conservative government, but they're not doing anything about it. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And never mind the carnage on the streets that we're going to see with their mass immigration and the release of criminals from prisons in order to put ordinary working people into prison who are protesting against the way this country is going down the lavatory. It's a great shame. They're all World Economic Forum stooges, and by admission. It's not a conspiracy theory. Keir Starmer was quite open, quite honest about it when he was asked by Emily No Mates at the BBC, is it Parliament who should be the primary source of our law, or Davos? Davos, he said. Davos is the one that's important. So he was quite honest about it. And the funny thing was that for the Labour Party, their vote only went up by 2%. They've got this massive majority. The reason they've got a massive majority is because the Conservative Party abandoned Middle England. And The old Labour Party is no longer standing up for the British working class. So the whole thing's a bloody disaster. North America is no better. Western Europe is no better. I just hope that sooner or later somebody will come to the fore who actually knows about these things and understand these things. At the moment, sadly, there's no sign of this. There's no sign of this at all. All the opposition, that it seems to me, is what I would call controlled opposition. It's, yes, we object to this or we don't like this, but don't rock the boat. Don't let's speak too loudly. Don't chance our arm. Don't put our head above the parapet, really. And there's lots of examples of that going on at the moment, isn't there? Whether it's an unnecessary and criminal war in the Ukraine or pure genocide in Gaza. Nobody's standing up and talking about actually what's really happening. Let's hope that somebody comes forward, and I know you're all doing your best and organise. Liz Phillips does such a marvellous job of organising these things, and once again, I'm really sorry I can't be there, but let's hope that things start to improve, but it'll only improve if we start to make it improve. We must do our best. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research-based, and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So, surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.